Pro wrestlers are known to be some of the toughest pro athletes on the planet. Wrestlers put themselves through unbelievable pain to entertain fans across the world, but sometimes they take a bump in a match that they end up regretting. This bump usually comes from a high spot involving a weapon such as a ladder or a chair, but sometimes it can be a bump from a modified wrestling move, and the results of this modification are nothing but pain and torment. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at 10 insane bumps WWE wrestlers regret doing. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Number 10. Kurt Angle moonsault off the cage. During Kurt Angle's run in TNA, he was willing to do absolutely anything to entertain the fans, even if this related to performing a moonsault off the top of a steel cage. Notably, Angle had delivered this exact move back in 2001 in an acclaimed steel cage match against Chris Benoit on Raw, but the TNA steel cages were considerably taller. This meant that the bump Angle took during his cage match with Mr. Anderson in 2010 wasn't a pleasant experience for the WWE and TNA Hall of Famer. Angle revealed that this bump was so immensely painful that he developed arthritis in his toes from this specific bump, and he almost broke Mr. Anderson's nose. Number 9. Kevin Owens senton to the outside. Former WWE Universal Champion Kevin Owens is well known for putting his body on the line in matches, but one bump that Owens took in 2021 wasn't one that Owens would want to relive anytime soon. Owens was wrestling Bobby Lashley on Raw in late 2021 when Owens attempted to deliver a flying senton onto Lashley to the outside of the ring. Lashley would move out the way and Owens landed in a heap. It was clear from watching Owens taking the bump that he was in considerable pain, and he later took to Twitter to state that taking that bump absolutely destroyed him. I often get asked what hurt me the most throughout my career, and there's two specific things that always come to mind, but as of last night, there's a new answer to add to that list because for some reason this absolutely destroyed me. Number 8. Mustafa Ali mid-air running knee. The Fastlane event in 2019 featured a tremendous WWE title match pitting reigning champion Daniel Bryan against Kevin Owens and Mustafa Ali. The finish of the match saw Ali attempt a high-risk move from the middle of the rope, only for Bryan to hit a brutal-looking running knee for the pinfall win. According to Ali himself, this is the single worst bump he's ever taken, and it's easy to see why. There's no way a bump of this nature is gonna hurt, and it was a miracle that Ali wasn't seriously injured. Number 7. Cody Rhodes flaming table bump. Cody Rhodes' AEW run was a mixed bag, and one of his most infamous moments in the company took place during a match with Andrade on AEW Dynamite in 2021. This was the notorious match which saw Rhodes perform a top rope inverted suplex on Andrade through a burning table. The issue here was that Rhodes landed back first into the flaming wood, whilst Andrade was virtually unscathed. The spot looked totally ridiculous, and it made Rhodes look completely incompetent. Rhodes' back looked like a mess, and he was evidently in an unbelievable amount of pain. Rhodes would discuss the dreaded bump during an interview with Comic Book, and Rhodes would label the spot as the dumbest thing he's ever done. I'm going to try and keep my language somewhat clean, but that was maybe the dumbest thing I've ever done. Man, it was cool. Dumb, but also what a good image in the terms of just how we do Dynamite. Number 6. Seth Rollins fall from Hell in a Cell. Whilst the non-finish ending to the Roman Reigns vs Braun Strowman Hell in a Cell match in 2018 were severely disappointing, the match itself did feature a memorable spot from two people who weren't even in the match, those being Seth Rollins and Dolph Ziggler. Rollins and Ziggler would take a huge bump off the side of the Hell in a Cell, and Rollins, during an interview on the Dan Le Batard show, claimed that the bump was so painful that it made him question his professional future. I've taken a couple of falls off the side of a Hell in a Cell structure, and I've fallen off the side of that a couple of times through our announce desk, and the most recent, which was 5 or 6 years ago at this point, I thought, that was it, I'm never getting up. That's the end of it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to move my legs after this. It was so painful, I thought. I don't know if I'll ever be able to wrestle again. Taking a huge bump off the side of the cage that I didn't need to take or want to take, and it wasn't even my match. So no, it was not worth it, at all. It was a terrible decision, I wish I hadn't done it. Number 5. Matt Hardy, Event Omega from the top of the steel cage. Even though the leg drop looks rather basic as a move, it caused significant damage to the wrestler delivering the move. Legendary wrestler Hulk Hogan has spoken at length about how much impact delivering the move had on him and even wishes he picked up a different finisher. Some wrestlers have taken the leg drop one step further by performing the move from the middle or top rope, but Matt Hardy decided to perform the move on top of the steel cage. Hardy was wrestling Edge at the Unforgiven event in 2005, and the finish of the match came when Hardy performed the leg drop from the top of the cage. It was terrifying to witness, and the consequences of this bump were very severe. Hardy revealed on Twitter that the bump has led to his lower back and pelvis fusing together. This maneuver was called Event Omega, and is most likely the reason that I've recently learned that my lower back and pelvis have started fusing together. Number 4. Kurt Angle Modified Chokeslam. There's one specific bump that Kurt Angle took during his career that he is labelled as the worst bump he ever took. Angle was wrestling Kane on Raw in 2002, and Kane would chokeslam both Angle and referee Charles Robinson simultaneously. Robinson executed the bump of a lifetime and landed awkwardly on Angle. Angle took to Twitter over 20 years after the match with Kane to discuss the bump, and Angle had a rather comical comment to make. "My match against the Big Red Machine Kane. This is the worst bump I ever took in my career. Referee Charles Robinson landed right on top of me. I thought I was gonna crap myself." Number 3. Mankind Royal Rumble Chair Shots. Two legends of WWE collided at the 1999 Royal Rumble match as The Rock took on Mankind in an I Quit match for the WWE title. The match is one of the most talked about matches of all time, mainly because it was featured in the movie Beyond the Mat, but it also featured Mankind taking some of the most sinister chair shots ever seen in a WWE match. Mankind took a total of 11 unprotected chair shots in the match itself. Knowing what we know about CTE and the impact of chair shots to the head, the match hasn't aged well, and it's insanely hard to rewatch the match again. It's evident from Mankind's face in the Beyond the Mat documentary that he regretted the drastic spots in the match, and seeing Mankind try to explain to his kids why he was receiving medical attention was certainly an emotional watch. Mankind has admitted that the match went too far when it comes to chair shots, and it's unbelievable to think that Mankind took 11 of the dreaded chair shots and was still in a position to wrestle a few short days later. Number 2. The Undertaker, the infamous jackhammer. The Undertaker had a career that lasted for 3 decades, and in that time, the dead man took some truly terrifying bumps. The Undertaker has landed on his head at WrestleMania 25, he's fallen through numerous tables, and he's even been chokeslammed through the ring. However, when it comes to the 2 bumps that the dead man regrets taking, none of these illustrious bumps were mentioned. Discussing the worst bumps of his career on the Pardon My Take podcast, the WWE Hall of Famer mentioned delivering a flying DDT to Yokozuna and the notorious time in which Goldberg dropped him on his head in Saudi Arabia.
Years ago, I was working with Yokozuna, and I'd give him a kind of a flying DDT. Now, Yoko at the time probably was closing in on 600 pounds, his body weight. And when he hit like a half second before I did on the mat, and it drove up a piece of wood that caught me in the ribs and snapped 2 of my ribs. That was that was pretty painful. And obviously I've had a few recently. The bump that I had in Saudi when I was working with Goldberg over there. I think that one was, I don't know, probably it was a couple inches from being probably catastrophic.
God.
I think there was just a lot of the way I hit on that one. I mean, there's like, it kind of sent out nerve impulses to all my injuries at once.
And number 1, Jeff Hardy swanton bomb through a table. Wrestling's resident daredevil Jeff Hardy has made a career out of high-risk moves, and in 2021, Hardy finally revealed which bump has been the most painful. During an interview with TalkSport, the former WWE champion stated that a specific bump in a match with Rob Van Dam was the worst bump he's ever taken. In the match, Hardy was getting set to perform a swanton bomb from a ladder onto RVD, who was laying prone on a table. This spot was different because the table was lying in an unconventional manner, meaning that when Hardy eventually went through it, his head was going to smash through the hardest part of the table. Hardy would perform the move and RVD would move out of the way, so Hardy took the full force of the death-defying bump. Discussing the bump itself, Hardy would state, "That was the worst bump ever. If you're talking about the one where I went through the table vertical, it was just straight to my back and oh my god, it knocked the wind out of me the worst ever. When it comes to the bumps that hurt the most as far as getting the wind knocked out, my lower back for the next few weeks. Oh, it was rough. I was like, okay, I don't think I ever want to go through a table vertically again, and I didn't, but I just had to do it. Just let me do it. I think it's going to be alright." And then when I went right through the framing to the floor and wow, it hurt. But there you have it folks, 10 insane bumps WWE wrestlers regret ever doing. Be sure to leave your comments down below and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.